All right, everyone. So as you can see, I've got up the PowerPoint slide called Elephants that we looked at in the last class. And in this class, we're going to be looking at two different things primarily. We're going to be looking at what we normally hear in the home area. Today, we're going to be working in the transition area right here. Transitions is, again, what happens in between slides. So for instance, right now, if I go into the presentation mode and I click, notice that it's very basic. There's not a lot in between slides. It just kind of goes to the next slide. That right there is animation. So that you see how the words are coming onto the page. I'll back up and show you guys that again. So see how the words come onto the page slowly at the bottom, and you see how the photo is turning. That is animation. So animation is what words and pictures look like on a slide if you want them to move around. And then if you want some transitions. Let's see if I have a transition. See, this is all animation here. You see where the words come in, and then this one kind of comes in from the side like that. Again, no transition on these slides, so they're very basic. So we're going to learn how to explore some of the transition styles that are in here, what they look like from the transition menu. So this is primarily where we're going to be working at today. And then once we get a hold of that, we're going to move over to the animation menu. And animation, again, is going to allow you to like select certain words, for instance, like this, and give it a swipe or maybe a zoom, something like that. And then when you hit it, it kind of comes in like that. So adding a little bit of flair to all of your slides, and it's going to be a fun time. So with that, let's go ahead and start with transitions. So again, here's the transition menu on the ribbon. We've gone through the home menu. I know we looked at last time insert and how to add photos. I know we looked at adding a screenshot. Of course, the draw menu is pretty self-explanatory. So here on the draw menu, you can see you have an eraser, you have a black pen, 0.5 millimeters, you have a red pen, 0.5, you have a 1 millimeter Galaxy, and you have a pencil that's gray. So let's just kind of look at some of these. So if I click on the draw one with here, so you can pick your thickness. How thick do you want the pen to write? And then the color. I'll just stick with red or for black right now. So if I come here and I start writing, you can see it's really thick. If we come back here and we do a thinner one, now it's a little bit thinner, right? We can change the color on the draw menu. We can choose, maybe let's go with purple. Okay. So it's just using the mouse and add to draw. I'm just literally clicking and holding when I want to draw. When I don't want to draw, I just don't click at all. Okay. Same thing here. So we can go to the eraser and we can pick the thickness of the eraser or a stroke eraser, a point eraser. So I can do a stroke eraser and I can just click that and get rid of it. Hit like that. And I can just click different things and just delete them. Or you can use the eraser that is like a point eraser like this, and you can just erase like this. Obviously, that takes longer. Maybe we can go a little thicker, and we can use a big eraser, erase some things. Okay. So all of this is stuff to just to draw on your canvas, right? You got this glittery one here. You got a really fine pencil one here. Okay, that was really fine. And then you have a highlighter if you, for some reason, want to highlight something. Okay, I'm going to undo those. Okay, just to clean up my slide. You got a ruler here. And then there's just so many different things that you can do. Ink to text. So that's where like you can write and it'll like actually type words and so forth. But I just wanted to introduce you to this menu here, the draw ribbon. So a lot of different things you can do in here by just drawing on your slides. Design, I know we've looked at this. Again, design is pretty simple. Simply just by clicking each one of these, you can change the color scheme that we see. Okay. I'm going to undo most of that because I don't want to go too crazy on our slides today. But the themes here, a lot of different themes, right? And you can just come to the drop-down menu and see the different ones that are available by moving your mouse over them like this. There we go. Okay. So that's what those look like. And then let's see, over here on transitions, I've got somebody in the waiting room. Control L man. Okay. And then over here in the transition is where we're going to work now. You can see that we have different options here available. So let's go ahead. Right now it's on none. You can see none is selected. So there's no transition between slide 1 and 2. Let me just show you that one more time. So again, if I click no transition, not a lot of fun. Let me get rid of this highlighter thing. Okay. So back on transition, let's go with morph. So that's what morph is going to do. It's going to kind of morph in and out of slides. So again, if I go ahead and hit the start button now. So once I hit next, see how it morphs? So that is a transition. That's called the morph transition. Let's look at fade. So fade does that one. So fade kind of just does a little bit of a fade. Push, slide kind of goes up, or wipe. I kind of like that one. That was kind of smooth. One thing I want to point out, all of these appear to be happening kind of quick. If you want it to be a little bit slower, you can adjust the speed at which it will do the action, the transition action. And you can adjust that right here. So right now they're all set to be a 1 second duration for a transition. So let's say we did curtains. So that one's set at 6 seconds. Kind of takes a little while. If you think that's too long, we can make it go shorter to 2 seconds. And then we go back here to play and boom, boom, the curtain takes 2 seconds, right? You can also obviously add a sound, but we're not going to do that today. You can do drapes, fall over. That's kind of cool. Flash. That one's called cover, uncover, shape. And then there's a lot of different ones right here. So if I, again, under transition, if I come all the way to the right, there's this drop down area here where I can click and it's going to show me all of the available ones. So we have exciting ones, it's called, subtle ones, and then there's dynamic content. Let's look at dynamic, maybe a orbit. See, I like that one. If you want to see it again, you can hit preview right here. Pretty fancy. Let's look at gallery. Again, I think that's too fast. I'm going to increase the time to maybe 3 seconds. Preview. Pretty nice. I like that. Let's go to rotate. This is one of my favorite ones, right? Did you guys see that? It's a nice rotation. So if I come back here and preview, boom, right? Preview, boom. So that is the rotations. And again, this adds a lot of, I would say, character to your slides. It makes them funner to watch. It's better for the audience because it gives them a little entertainment, quote unquote, in between slides, something to look forward to. So I would encourage you guys when you're doing your slideshows, again, depending on the setting, like if you're in a very professional setting, maybe you won't use a lot of these and you'll keep them pretty basic. But if you're in a setting where you can have a little fun, you know, you're presenting to a classroom of kids or something like that, I would very much encourage you to use these. Now, if you're in a, I don't know, government building and you're briefing an attorney in front of a jury, you probably don't want PowerPoint slides that are all fancy and flying around. You probably want to keep them pretty vanilla. But in this case, I think this is a great opportunity for you guys to learn how to just kind of jazz them up a little bit. Okay, so that's transitions. Let's leave what's under transition effects. Oh, okay, you can change the direction. So for this rotate one, for instance, notice right now it's rotating to the left. You can actually change it to do that from the bottom or from the left. Yeah, so that's really nice. You can change it to like go up like that, or let's see, we probably can come from the top too. Yep, exactly. So a lot of, again, just kind of fun ways to play with your transitions and makes them a little bit more entertaining. One thing you can also do is they do have an option here for random. I like that one if you're going to apply all. So apply all is this button here. And so let's say I find one and I want to use it on all of my slides. Maybe I want to use orbit on all of my slides, orbit from the top. No, not orbit. Let's see, rotate. That's my favorite one. Let's do rotate from the bottom for each slide. So we're going to rotate from the bottom for each slide, but I don't want to go to each slide and do that, okay? I do want to point out that you can know that a slide has a transition on it by looking at it over here. You see this little star next to the 2? So this is saying slide 2 has a transition. So when I go from slide 1 to 2 in presentation mode, it's going to have a transition, and that's what this little star here is telling me. Notice that the other ones don't have anything under the number because there's no transition. Oh, there's one here for 6, there's one for 7, and there's no transitions on 8, 9, 10. Another way to see it is we can go into slide sorter, which is right here, the button here at the bottom of your screen. Looks like multiple slides. If you put your mouse over, it says mouse or says slide sorter. And again, you can also see here, slide 2, it has the little star here to show that when you go from slide 1 to 2, you're going to get a transition. Same thing here, same thing here. So who can tell me which slides do not currently have a transition? What was the answer? I thought I heard somebody say something. Which slides do not have a transition currently? By looking at this slide chart here.
3, 4, 5, 8, 9, and 10.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. Perfect. Good job. Thank you for that, Becca. Okay. And I'm going to go back into our normal view, which is right here. Okay. That's our normal view. So, sorry, had to turn off the heat out in our house. All right. And let's see. What I wanted to show you next is, again, if we want to apply all, I can just hit apply all right there. So you pick the one that you like. You pick how long you want it to be. Do you want a sound? And then finally, once you get the setting right for this one, so once you like the way that this one looks, if you want to apply that to every slide, you don't have to go slide by slide. You can just hit apply all. And now, when I go back to slide 1 and into presentation mode, you can see that now in between each slide, we get this nice 3D figure that is much nicer for our transitions. Would you guys agree? This is a little bit more entertaining to look at than just the slide changing. Hopefully so. What was that? Okay. Okay. Last thing I want to show you here for transitions is what activates the transition. So currently, they all happen on a mouse click. So I have to click my mouse to tell it, go ahead to the next slide. Sometimes you don't want to do that. Sometimes maybe you have some PowerPoint slides on display. You're not manning them, but you just want them to rotate indefinitely, right? And so you want them to the slide to change maybe every 1 minute, because people maybe are standing around, they're watching the slides, they're learning. Maybe it's some kind of gallery that they can walk through and they can see the slideshow. But there's nobody that's going to be actually talking and clicking to make the slides go. So you can use this advanced slide over here where it says advanced slide. Currently, the default is going to be on mouse click. So we can edit that and make it after a certain amount of time or a mouse click, right? So we can leave that, but we can get rid of that and we can say, hey, I'll tell you what, after 2 seconds, I want you to go to the next slide. So let's do this. Let's do rotate 3 seconds each, apply to all, and then let's have it advance the slide after 5 seconds. I'm going to do an apply all. And let's see what happens. I'm not going to click my mouse. I'm just going to let this go on auto. See there? And again, I'm not clicking anything. I'm not touching anything. So we put the slides on an auto rotate so that they're going automatically now. If you were somewhere where you needed to do 1 minute per slide, you can set that up and it'll do 1 minute per slide. It'll automatically rotate. And you can actually put the slides on to indefinite rotation also. I'll show you guys how to do that shortly. But this is a really nice feature for when you're setting up a presentation that's not going to be actively monitored. It's just something that needs to be rotating. Another instance may be a bulletin board at church. Maybe there's a TV set up at church and they have announcements constantly rolling. You can do that in PowerPoint. You can create the slides in PowerPoint for those announcements, set those slides up to maybe rotate every minute while people are in church or in the lobby. And then those announcements are constantly rolling as reminders to people. Hey, next Sunday we got this going on. This week we got this. We got the outreach, things like that. It's a nice, gentle way to put reminders out without having to take time during service and things like that. I'm sure schools and churches use stuff like this all the time to have like a revolving slideshow. So again, we did not set it up as a continuous slideshow, so it does end right here. Let's go look at how to set it up for continuous. So again, we set up the transition we like. We set it up for 3 seconds. And after 5 seconds, so once the transition happens, it stays on that slide for 5 seconds and then it rotates. And again, you can set that up to happen every minute, every 5 minutes, every hour. It's completely up to you because you can see you have a whole clock over here. Okay. All right. So let's look at setting it up for continuous play. I'm going to go to setup. And there is a option right here. So again, I'll show you where I went. I went to set up slideshow under the slideshow area here. So I set up show and I set it to loop continuously until escape. Okay. So that is going to make it go continuously without me having to do anything. I'm going to hit OK. For the purposes of this exercise, I'm just going to make it 2 seconds. Well, yeah, we'll do 1 second actually. I'm going to apply all. Let's go back to presentation mode. And I want to go back to slide one. Yep. So it should, at the end of the slideshow, it should rotate back to slide one and then keep going. So let's give it a second and see what happens. And there it went. It went right back to slide one, and it'll do that until I hit escape. So I'm hitting escape right now. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on transitions, what we do with them, when we would use them, or how to apply them? All right, sounds good. So from there, so we've got the transition. I'm gonna make them 5 seconds each. I'm gonna apply all. Again, apply all is the nicest because you can just change it. I'm actually gonna put them on random though. Random, 3 seconds, and yep, apply all. All right. So again, let's go back to slide sorter. And again, we should see, yep. So we see that all the transitions are there and they happen all in 5 second increments, as you can see under each slide. All right, go back to normal view here. And let's now go and transition to looking at animation. So again, transitions, what happens in between slides, animation is what happens actually once you get on the slide. Do you want your words to fly in and things like that? All right. So the first step to adding animation is to select the text or the photo that you want to animate and that you want it to like move onto the slider and so forth. So let's say we want elephants to kind of fly in and make a grand entrance. Okay. So we would select the text. We can select it two ways. You can just use your mouse to go from the back all the way forward to the front like that. Or you could just click on the box around the text and it makes that box solid like that. And then on the animation menu, again, see that we have none right now. We can just select from any of these here. So I want to click here on the drop down first, and I want to show you all the options. A lot of options for animation and how you want your text to come into the slide or out of the slide. But I want to point out that there's entrance. So all of the green ones here, notice that these are entrance. So this is how is your wording or how is your photo going to enter the slide. These next ones here that are in yellow are emphasis. So it'll kind of make things pop and kind of reverberate and go in and out. And then these ones here in red, those are exit. So that's how is your text going to exit if you want it to at all. You don't have to, of course. And then we have motion. So motion paths, you can design it to like go around the slide in a certain way, right? So you can design it. Let's say I wanted to do arcs like this. Look, you look at what happens to elephant. Did you see it kind of do an arc thing? Let's do a turn. So it does like a little turn. How about a loop? Kind of loops around and then it comes back. Okay. So I'm gonna undo that and undo, undo, undo. Okay. So we're back there. So again, first step is to select the text and then come up here to the animation menu. And then select, if you want an entrance one, you can select any of these entrance ones. So I'm going to do grow and turn, and it comes in. Again, similar to our transition pane in our transition area, I can also edit how fast do I want it to happen, and do I want it to happen slow, or do I want it to happen on a click, or do I want it to happen after the previous thing or with the previous thing? So let's see. Let's make this one on a click, and we'll make it take 2 seconds with no delay. Let's preview. So it came in a little slower, which I liked. I liked that. I liked how that came in a little bit slower, a little bit more deliberate, and it kind of dropped in nice and easy, right? So again, we can again make it longer, 4 seconds, preview. It's gonna come in a lot slower. Boom. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and click on my animation pane. Notice over here in the animation pane that I just pulled up. So the animation pane just shows you the order of animations within your slide. So if you have multiple animations within one slide, You can reorder them. So for instance, right now we just have a 1 here. Notice this 1 that's here. So this is telling you that animation 1 is going to happen on the click. That's why there's a little mouse there. It's going to be a entrance, and we know it's going to be an entrance because the color is green. And then this little bar here is telling you how long it's going to be. So I can actually change the length here too. Okay. I can go up to 10.5 seconds. Let's do 10.5 and see what happens. Coming in real slow. Get there. And done. There we go. So I'm going to bring it back because that's way too long. All right. Let's go. Just 5 seconds. Okay. So again, that's the animation on that. But let's say we also want to animate this. And that one, I want it to do, maybe you want to do it the same thing. Okay. But we want to make it the same length as the one above, 5 seconds. So now let's preview and see what happens. So number 1 comes in 5 seconds, and then number 2 comes in 5 seconds. But maybe we want them to both happen at the same time. Again, notice we have a 1, which correlates with the Google shape and the incoming animation on part 1. And then number 2 is this one, is this text box. And it's telling you that that one's going to do this, but maybe we want them to happen together. So I'm going to go to number 2, and instead of happen on click, I'm going to tell it to go with the previous item. So when the previous item, and previous would be number 1, when number 1 happens, number 2 is going to go at the same time. Let's give it a shot. So now they both come in at the same time and at the same exact pace because we told it 5 seconds for each one. Okay. Does anyone have any questions on that really quick before we go any further? Looking at animation, bringing things in, multiple animations on one slide. So let's say I go to number 2 and I say after previous, then it's going to wait for this one to be over before it does this one. Or if I say on click, and then I go into slide mode, okay, it did them really quick there, right? So we want to do, I want to do with previous. And I'm going to do with previous. Let's see what we get. And then they both come in nice and neat like that. Okay. Boom. And they come in really nicely there, right? Okay. So again, using our animation pane, we were able to put them together, add the order, and then I could rearrange this technically. I could move this one up, right? And, so forth. So if you ever have multiple animations on one page, you can reorder them, like make number 10 number 1, depending on the order that you want the animations to happen. All right, let's see. Let's go to the next slide here. And let's add animation to this area. Who can tell me, how do I add the bounce animation to this text for 3 seconds? The bounce animation to this text. How would I add that animation to this text box?
Get highlighted, then click the bounce up on the ribbon bar and
Yep.
do that, change the duration.
and then change the duration to 5. All right, and then we hit go. And then here it comes. And it's doing each bullet point at 5 seconds, right? So so bullet point 1, it did in 5 seconds. See, because 1, it did 2 in 5 seconds, and then it did 3. So each bullet point got a 5-second introduction in this case. So when you say 5 and you're dealing with bullets, it knows that each bullet has its own, right? And so in this case, if we were to put it to click, I want to show you this. So when you get to the slide, yep, and it has to come in one at a time. Okay. So it's pretty nice. Pretty nice. Perfect. Let's see. I want to show you one. So this is a good example of having I want to delete these because these are from class the other day. Remove, remove, remove. So this is a good example of you have a question on a slide. Do elephants live alone or in groups? And this is the answer. Well, you don't want the answer on the slide when you start the slide. You want the people to have to wait for that. So we're going to animate this and we're going to give it, we'll give it random bars and it's going to come in 3 seconds, but on a click, because initially I don't want this to be on the slide. So let's see what happens. If we go into live mode, it just has the question. And then this would be where you would discuss it. And then after 3 seconds, you got your elephants live in groups. Okay. Does that make sense, everyone? Like, so animation can help you to do things like, I'm gonna take it off on this one. Animation can help you do things like have a conversation with your classroom while you're talking. Do elephants live alone or in groups? You have a 5-minute conversation about it. You know, what did you guys find in your research? And then as the teacher, you can just come back up and click the button and it gives you the answer right there. Okay, here's the answer. Elephants live in groups. So using animation, again, you can just add a lot of nice little things to your presentation to make it a little bit more entertaining. Again, another one right here. So I'll have someone else from the audience. How would I, again, not have this on the slide when it starts? Because the question is, where do elephants live? But I want the answer to come in when I click the button. So when I click the button, I want the answer to come in. And I want it to come in using, let's do like a circle shape right here. We'll do the circle one. So who can tell me how we would do that? I want Africa and Asia to come in after I click a button and tell it to come in. How do we do that?
Select the text.
Select the text. Uh-huh.
And then under animation,
Uh-huh.
select the shape that you chose, say the circle one.
Mm-hmm.
And then next you go to the timing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you said, how long did just choose the duration of
Yeah, the
time that you
duration.
want.
And then we want it to be
And
on
then the
click.
one option of the click, because you wanted to delay until the answer is projected.
Exactly. So let's actually test it and see how we did. We might have did this wrong, but I'm going to test it. Yeah, I did it wrong. So I set it to be there, but when I hit click, it just does that. So that's not what we want. So we need to change it to an entrance one. So we don't want the shape. So I'm going to undo. Okay. And then let's do it again, but let's choose a entrance animation. So again, how would we do it? So we select, and then what else? Maybe we do swivel. on a click, because it's an entrance one, I'm just going to add a little bit more time. I want to make sure that it's not going to transition on me. So if I had transition after, by the way, it makes all these animations happen automatically because the slide wants to change automatically after 5 seconds. So that's why I took advanced slide after 5 seconds off. Because in this case, as I want to have a discussion with my classroom, I don't want the slide to just start advancing automatically. Okay, so let's take a look and see what we got. So now we got our where do elephants live, and you kind of wait it out. You have your conversation. You as a teacher say, okay, let's reveal the answer. Click, and you've got your answer right there. Fantastic. Okay. Okay. That's it for today, guys. That's the two main things.